Before I start, I would like you to imagine a world where being alive is a crime. Where you are somehow so deplorable that your very existence is punishable by death. Well, what if I told you that you don't really need to think of a world like that? Because this is the current reality of millions upon millions of people around the world. And the Philippines is no exception. In 2012, the Department of Education enacted a policy that aimed to protect students from bullying and discrimination on certain bases, including sexual orientation and gender identity.
Nilagda na ang implementing rules and regulations ng Anti-Bullying Act.
Stepping up its campaign against bullying in schools.
Then, in 2013, the Philippine Congress passed an anti-bullying law, citing sexual orientation and gender identity as illegal grounds for discrimination and harassment. With these policies in place, it might look like the Philippines is a safe haven for LGBTQ+ students and individuals. But a Human Rights Watch report in 2017 says otherwise.
Being an LGBT kid in schools in the Philippines isn't easy. We documented a lot of bullying that LGBT students still face. Some of that was physical bullying, like being pushed or shoved, in addition to things like verbal bullying or cyberbullying or sexual harassment, which can be very severe.
In fact, this 68-page report offers readers an in-depth look into how Filipino LGBTQ+ students are severely and significantly more mistreated, bullied, and discriminated against their non-LGBTQ+ classmates.
I will never forget the first time I saw you.
It also speaks about how much of these protection policies deployed by the Department of Education are often overlooked by school officials, and that most LGBTQ+ students receive no such protection against severe, persistent bullying.
What we actually found is that a lot of teachers participate in the harassment, and for that reason, a lot of students don't feel comfortable going to teachers to tell them that, their peers are doing the same thing and are making them feel excluded and left out.
However, discrimination and harassment against LGBTQ+ individuals is not limited to school settings. In fact, according to a piece written by Corinne Redfern on the 7th of January of 2021, more than 50 transgender and gender non-binary individuals have been murdered in the Philippines this past decade alone, with possibly more than hundreds of unreported cases.
Tu fais des choses comme ça, toi? Et en plus, tu mens, tu racontes des conneries, tu me racontes des cracks.
One of the more well-known cases of murder that happened to an individual that identifies as LGBTQ+ was that of the 11th of October 2014 murder, when a 26-year-old trans woman named Jennifer Laude was murdered by a United States Marine by the name of Joseph Scott Pemberton. Her cause of death was ruled asphyxiation by drowning, as hotel staff of the Salzone Lodge found her dead, naked body in the bathroom, her neck covered with strangulation marks and her head submerged in a toilet bowl.
Dragged him inside the bathroom and dunked his head into the toilet bowl.
The following year, Pemberton was sentenced with 6 to 12 years of imprisonment.
Bukas isasalang ng depensa ang kanilang huling testigo, ang forensic expert na si Dr. Raquel Fortun. Inaasahan naman na sa huling araw ng Setyembre, didesisyonan na ng korte ang hatol kay Pemberton.
In 2020, however, to the dismay of the LGBTQ+ community, just 5 years after Pemberton was found guilty of homicide and 7 years short of his actual sentence, the president granted him an absolute pardon.
Joseph Scott Pemberton is now entitled to be released.
And even in the new decade, violence against LGBTQ+ individuals is already rampant. In fact, just a month ago, in late May 2021, a transgender man by the name of Ebeng Mayor was raped and murdered.
Ang pagpatay sa isang transgender man sa Quezon City.
Last June, 20 LGBTQ+ individuals were arrested at a pride march despite strictly following quarantine protocols.
Dinampot ng mga pulis ang 20 individual.
Yet, despite all the rampant discrimination, violence, and harassment against the Filipino LGBTQ+ community, the government still saw fit to prevent protection bills like the SOGIE Equality Bill from passing. Let's listen to what current Senator Manny Pacquiao had to say about LGBTQ+ individuals.
Ngayon, kung lalaki sa lalaki o babae sa babae, mas masahol pa sa hayop ang tao.
Penguins have more male to male sex than humans do. That is such an unbelievably ignorant statement. And by the way, I mean, God, are there no reporters in the world? You got Manny Pacquiao, this moron, in a press conference saying stuff like this or in an interview.
For context, the SOGIE Equality Bill, or the Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity, and Expression Equality Bill, was meant to protect all Filipinos against discrimination, violence, and harassment on these bases. However, despite the fact that the SOGIE Equality Bill was designed to be for every Filipino, the general population fails to see this as a step toward equal rights, and rather mistakenly believes that passing such a progressive bill infringes on the rights of many and gives LGBTQ+ individuals extra rights.
Se una persona è gay e cerca il Signore e ha buona volontà, ma chi sono io per giudicarla? Dobbiamo essere ma fratelli e il Catechismo della Chiesa Cattolica spiega tanto bello questo. Dice, e non si devono emarginare a queste persone per questo. Devono essere integrati in società.
One is forced to ask though, how is it that degrading and berating our Filipino brothers and sisters is acceptable? As a country that prides itself on its hospitality, kindness, and religiousness, many of us have seemed to have forgotten the golden rule: to love one another. And that hypocrisy is something we Filipinos should strive to eradicate.